$20. He owed me $20.
For the $20.
$20.
He bet you $20.
I can't get this.
Come on, baby.
Let me see what you got, right?
Ready?
You say you go hit it one time,
One time.
All right, we're headed into Target. I'm just gonna walk around, see if people are finding everything okay. And let's just say I'm gonna call it a win if someone believes I'm an employee and I can actually help them out. Let's go.
Don't be suspicious, 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 don't be suspicious.
Finding everything okay? Yeah. Great. Finding everything all right? Good. You guys finding everything okay? Cool. No problem. Finding everything okay? Yeah. Good. No problem. Finding everything okay? 409?
Like I looked on that next
Let me see.
Be on the sidewalk?
I'm not sure. I think. Let me check with someone. I'll be right back with you. No problem. Excuse me. Do you know where I can find 409 cleaner?
409 cleaner? Next department?
Next department.
Right here. friends, welcome to week 2 of Youth at Night. We're so excited to be with you guys for another night here at the church. Before we get into the message, we went downtown this past week and asked people what mattered most to them. So check out their responses.
What matters most to you?
My children, my family,
Your children and your
Yes.
family. Okay.
and then my country,
And your country.
in that order.
Awesome. What matters most to you?
Probably my family.
Your family.
That's
Awesome.
what I was gonna say too.
You
My
say
family.
Your family. Okay. Awesome.
Juliet.
Juliet. Yeah. What matters most to you?
Our family, I guess. You
Family?
know, yeah, my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect. Sweet deal. So, Saul, what matters most to you?
For me, finding happiness, to be able to be happy for the rest of my life instead of living in misery.
Thanks, man. Oh, yeah, Tanner, what matters most to you, man?
Family. Easy, and this easiest thing I just ever answer. I mean, it's family has been everything for me ever since I was a baby. Ever since it's as I get older, it's the only thing that's been there for me, the strongest and the most consistent. You know.
Sweet, bro. Hey, so what matters most to you?
What matters most to me right now is fellowship, just being together in unity. So I love Zoom. It's not the same. I'm glad that I had the option, but being able to actually be in fellowship with each other right now is the most important thing to me.
Cool. Awesome. What matters most to you?
Yes, fellowship and family and being together. We were made to be together.
Awesome.
And kombucha.
And kombucha?
Actually, music in the morning, praise in the morning. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. What matters most to you?
Family.
Family. Oh, that was
Family and the other people in my life. You know, otherwise, what are we doing here?
All right, what matters most to you?
My family, the Bible, and just everyone I care about.
What matters most to you guys?
Hope for the future.
Same. Hope.
Awesome.
That's it.
That's perfect. In high school, Luke and I shared a class together with one of our favorite teachers ever. This dude's name was Mr. Martin. And it was directly after lunch one day. It was a snowy day, and this kid comes walking into class with a snowball hidden in his hands. And by now, this snowball was less of a snowball, and it was more of an ice chunk slowly melting as time passed on. And this dude whispered over to Luke and I while Mr. Martin was writing on the board, and he said, "Hey, Nick, Luke, you should throw this snowball at Mr. Martin." And we both looked at each other, kind of contemplating, and we agreed that this was a horrible idea. We're like, dude, we are not going to do this. Bad idea. And out of nowhere, we hear the voice of one of the most shy and quiet kids in our entire class. This kid that hadn't said a word the entire semester. And he whispers with pure confidence and with direction with his words. He said, "I'll do it. I will do it." And keep in mind, this was a kid who would never do something like this. He was the last person that I would expect to step up and take on such a task. And Luke and I, we were so taken off guard. We were kind of looking at each other like, is this seriously happening right now? We didn't fully believe that he would. We were like, okay, he's saying this, but there's no way. We know this kid. We know who he is. And sure enough, in a matter of seconds, the snowball goes flying across the room, turning into blistering cold shrapnel as it explodes on the whiteboard in front of Mr. Martin's face. And I remember thinking, is this even real? I thought that this kid would never do something like this. I never would expect for him to engage in such an activity. And here's why I say this. You can know somebody without really knowing them. You can know somebody, you can know about somebody without really knowing who they are. We all surprise you at some point. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, you surprised me by starting this video with your hair chopped off, Nick, right? We all surprise people. And the same thing is true for you. Like, you can hang out with people and even develop a relationship, a friendship with people, and still not experience what it's like to be fully known. Or maybe this feeling where you're like, man, they just don't get the real me. For example, have you ever dealt with something in life or you felt something deep down and you simply decided to keep it to yourself because you didn't think that other people would understand you. You're like, nah, they'll think I'm weird, or they just won't get where I'm coming from. Or maybe you shared something deep within your heart or your soul, or something that you really, really meant, and you're like, I shared it and that's great, but I really don't think that they understand. They just didn't fully get what I was saying. For some of us, our friends are probably the only ones who come close to getting us. And some of you might say, like, I have my bestie, and they totally get me. And that's awesome, but it's probably not more than 1 or 2 people. And I would say just generally, the majority of people don't feel like there's somebody that gets them 100%. The majority of us don't feel like there's a person that just totally understands everything about who we are. And one of the reasons the idea of this teaching series, It's Personal, matters so much is because whether you know it or not, you are actually wired to be known. You have this deep ache, this deep longing within you to be known, namely by God. You are made to have somebody who gets you, who understands you, who knows what your real world is all about. Someone who can sit in the struggle with you and celebrate with you in the victories of life. And this, my friends, brings us back to this dude named Zacchaeus. Last week, we started talking about this encounter that Jesus had with him. And in the section of the Bible called the New Testament, there are these eyewitness accounts from people who knew Jesus personally. These are called the Gospels, right? There are 4 of them, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and, yes, John. And they come from all sorts of different perspectives. Everyone's writing, just like if I wrote a story and Luke wrote a story, they'd be coming from different perspectives from our experience. And they didn't all share the same stories, believe it or not. Sometimes they were writing to different people, and which affected the details that they included. So here's what I mean. The Gospel of Luke is the only gospel that tells the story of Zacchaeus. The other 3 don't include this story. And there's a reason for that. Luke was writing to mostly a non-Jewish audience. So the followers of Jesus, most of them at this point, they were Jewish. So they kind of figured that everyone who followed Jesus would have been Jewish. We know that's not true, right? Are you Jewish? Do you follow Jesus? Yeah, you're probably not Jewish, and you probably do follow Jesus, except for you, Greg. But that's not the way Jesus operated. He was for anyone and for everyone, no matter their background, Jewish, non-Jewish. So it was natural for the non-Jewish people to feel like they don't quite fit in. They're like, man, Jesus was Jewish. They often felt like outcasts, or like Jewish Christians didn't quite understand them. So in Luke's gospel, there's a lot of stories about people who didn't feel like they fit in. Ever felt like that? Man, read the Gospel of Luke. It's easy to imagine that these are the people that Luke wrote to, because these are primarily the people that Luke wrote about. He wanted his readers to see how Jesus treated people like them. So Luke shares the story of Zacchaeus, who, like we learned last week, was on the outside of the group. He was a Jewish tax collector, which was very frowned upon. People despised tax collectors. And Zacchaeus was essentially out to steal your money, and he wouldn't care about how it affected you at all. But then Jesus comes to town, and everyone is dying to see him. By this point, he was like this super famous dude, and people wanted to know, man, are the rumors true? Is he who he says he was? Is he really healing people? Is he really performing miracles? Is he really challenging powers in charge? And everyone wanted to see what Jesus was like, and Zacchaeus was no different. So he shows up. Zacchaeus shows up. And to get a better view, because it says he was a shorter dude, Zacchaeus climbs up a tree, and he wanted a better view, right? But also, I imagine Zacchaeus wasn't sure how Jesus would feel about a guy like him. A guy who collected taxes for the Romans and probably took a little extra for himself. Jesus looked out for the poor and the mistreated, and nobody was better at mistreating people or making people poor than Zacchaeus. So I imagine he wasn't looking to stand out. He's like, man, I'm the reason that Jesus is helping these people because I am messing them over, essentially. And Zacchaeus didn't want to be seen. But then the craziest thing ever happens. Jesus looks up, he sees little Zacchaeus, he calls out to him, and then invites himself over to Zacchaeus' house for dinner. Luke tells it this way. When Jesus reached this spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. We hear this and think, okay, that's a little bold. Cook me dinner. I'm coming over with no warning. Like, that would take anybody by surprise. But in this context, it was actually an honor to host somebody for dinner. It was a beautiful thing. Having someone in your home sent a message of friendship. Like, if you went into somebody's house, you're saying, I am friends with this person and this person is taking care of me. So Zacchaeus, he wasn't sitting in the tree thinking, dude, how rude. Like, we might think this in our culture, how rude for just inviting yourself over and opening the fridge to my house. Like, he was most likely sitting in the tree thinking, I can't believe that Jesus would want to have dinner with me, of all people, the one who is making people poor. Like, and he announced it loud enough for everyone in the crowd to hear, like, hey, look, everybody, the person that you can't stand, I'm inviting myself over to his house for dinner. And this is what it says in verse 6. So he, Zacchaeus, came down at once and welcomed Jesus gladly. So why did Jesus invite himself over? Because Jesus cared about what Zacchaeus cared about. Man, even though he was in this bummer job, Jesus still cared about the things that Zacchaeus cared about. And even though it didn't seem like it on the outside, like Zacchaeus cared about a few things. You might think, man, he just cares about like robbing people of their money and causing people to be poor. But actually, Zacchaeus wanted to belong. He cared about belonging. He cared about being accepted. He cared about being seen. He cared about being known, namely by God. He might not have known it at this point, though. How do I know that he cared about these things? Because he's human, and we all desire that deep within us. We are all wired for belonging. Zacchaeus lived his life as an outsider. He was a Jewish man. He didn't fit in with the Romans, even though he worked for them, and he didn't fit in with the Jewish neighbors because he taxed them, right? So he didn't really fit in with anybody. And Zacchaeus, he wasn't just climbing a tree to see Jesus. He was climbing a tree to see if he mattered to Jesus and to see if Jesus knew what mattered to him most. And don't miss this, like, it surprises everyone. People didn't expect a friendship to form between Jesus and this local jerk. They liked Jesus and wanted to be around him, and they didn't want to be around Zacchaeus. In fact, they all probably thought that they already knew everything they needed to know about Zacchaeus. They saw him, tax collector, write him off. I want nothing to do with him. How often do we do that with people? We judge them from externals, judge their circumstance, and just kind of determine who they are based on our own observation. And then as a tax collector, they knew exactly what he was like, and they didn't want to associate themselves with him. But not Jesus. Get that? Not Jesus. Jesus knew that just because Zacchaeus had the label of tax collector as his job title, it didn't tell the whole story about who he was. It turns out Jesus knew Zacchaeus better than anyone around him did. Jesus understood that Zacchaeus was just a person who wanted to belong, and Jesus got on his level, actually entered himself into his home to say, I see you, I know you, you belong here. If you've ever wondered what Jesus thinks about you, the story of Zacchaeus hopefully is an encouragement. But maybe you've always felt like there were certain things that mattered to Jesus. For example, maybe you thought like, dude, Jesus cares about my Bible reading, but he doesn't really care about my grades. Or maybe you're like, Jesus cares about praying, but he doesn't really care about my friendships. Or Jesus cares about holy stuff, but not real stuff. Or Jesus cares about whether I cuss or not, but he doesn't really care about my anxiety. Or like, Jesus cares about my obedience, but he doesn't really care about my relationship with my parents. Or like, Jesus cares about sexual purity, but he doesn't really care about my dating relationship as long as I'm being pure. But today, I want you to know that things that matter to you matter to him. Write that down if you're taking notes. Things that matter to you actually matter to God. The things that interest you interest him. He doesn't just know that you love basketball or love theater, but he gets who you are. He gets where you're coming from. He feels with you. He gets you personally. Think of it this way. It's personal because Jesus knows what matters to you. The personal Jesus surprised Zacchaeus, and everyone was shocked. And chances are, there are a lot of people around you every day who would never guess that Jesus is interested in them personally. There's people that go through their lives every single day, sometimes that's us, who never realize that Jesus knows them on a very intimate level. That's why this week, I want to challenge you with these ideas. Number one, talk to Jesus about what matters to you. Not to inform him, but just so that you know it's a personal relationship. Jesus cares about what you care about, so start there. Pray about it, share it with him, let him know the things that you like, let him know the things that you worry about, like, God, this thing is worrying me right now. Just want to let you know. Tell him the things that bring you life. Like, man, I cannot wait for theater stuff to start back up. Tell him about the things that drain you or the things you're not looking forward to. Jesus is never bored hearing from you because it's personal to him. And then number two is this. Talk to others about what interests them. There's an idea, right? If we're going to be like Jesus, who talked to Zacchaeus about what mattered to him, like when it came to Zacchaeus, it wasn't personal for the crowd he was in, right? They made assumptions about Zacchaeus. They're like, dude, you're a loser tax collector. But they didn't really know him or understand him. Jesus was the one who knew what really mattered to Zacchaeus and gave him this sense of belonging. And it's possible that there are people that you've made assumptions about too. People who you think are one way because of what you've believed about them, but you've never made it personal. So my invitation, maybe this week you can make it personal by being intentional and discovering things about other people. Like let go of the ideas that you've had about them and do for someone else what Jesus has done for Zacchaeus. We're all about becoming like Jesus. This is one of the ways that we become like Jesus. We see the people that people otherwise wouldn't see. In his letter to Philippi, the Apostle Paul, he writes it this way. Philippians 2, verses 3 and 4, he says, rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. So look out for the interests of others, which might mean you ask your friends questions, and then before you put your input, like you listen to their answer and go, I'm really trying to get to know you right now, right? Or maybe you play something that your sibling loves to play that you absolutely hate playing. Like maybe your little brother's like, please come play basketball with me. And you're like, I hate playing basketball with you, but I see you. I want to be here. I'm going to put your values above mine right now. Or maybe you go watch your friend play a sport that you have no idea the rules to. Or maybe you make an effort to include that kid who's a grade younger than you. Oh man, he's a freshman. Yeah, we're not going to he's a freshman, but I see past that because I'm trying to be more like Jesus was to Zacchaeus. From there, Paul goes on to talk about the character of Jesus and what Jesus was like. And Paul says, make Jesus the model, because that's exactly what Jesus was like. He was selfless. He looked out for the interests of others. And we should do the same. And that is what makes us stand out as people who follow him. Everybody needs someone who knows their name and knows them personally. And we can know for a fact Jesus knows us personally. But I want you to think about something this week. Do you know what matters to the people around you? Really? Have you taken the time to personally get to know the people around you? When we take the time to make it personal with others, we truly are living like Jesus. We are being the world changers that we're called to be in our daily lives. Jesus was never satisfied by making a judgment about a person from far away. He didn't label people, said, that's the kind of person you are. He got close. He took time. He never let a label or an assumption inform his opinion of somebody. He cared about what mattered to others because those are the things that mattered to him. It's personal because Jesus knows what matters to you. Now, you have the chance to go and do the same for others. Let me pray for you guys. God, thank you so much for the story of Zacchaeus. Thank you for seeing us. God, as we have made assumptions and put labels on other people, we ask for forgiveness for those times, but we're so grateful that you don't make assumptions about us. God, help us, strengthen us, give us vision for what it looks like to see the people in our lives. And God, help us anchor our lives in the fact that you see us, you know us, and you don't shy away. You actually invite yourself into our home. God, we love you. Be with the small group right now. I ask that the students right now would just be real and honest. And God, we're thankful that you're sitting with us in the middle of this conversation. We love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.